We're good with that, we're gone. The next thing on the business is the trees. Obviously, I stirred up a hornet's nest when I talked to an architect.
You sure did.
Didn't want to. This gentleman called in today because of his concern. I've had very few people call me except for Beth, and she wanted to change herself to a tree. But Gary Clements called me today, and he still thinks that the best thing for the courthouse is to cut the north tree. Short of, he does not like cutting a tree, I can tell you, but he don't even want you to skin one of them. And he has a lot of reservation about it. Now, he also said we could water. You've got to water it.
No, not that. You have to get the water deep.
Deep, that's exactly right, you're right,
The
you're
way to
right.
get the water deep is to drill the core holes, put a pipe in, perforate pipe in, and fill it. They did the same thing in Gee. That my aunt lived in an area over in Gee that is a float shop. You can imagine what float shop is like in the winter. In the summertime, it's even worse because it dries the trash. All she did was put soaker hose around her house, and everybody else on that block did that, and it stopped it because the water transgressed. But you can drill holes there and put perforated pipes in there. Now, they got to be down there. They can't be a foot. They got to be on down there.
Oh, I agree, and he even said that. I will say that. Now, I don't want to cut the trees, let's get this straight.
Soaker hose is not going to do anything to make a mess.
But
It's not going to penetrate well enough to go there because I don't know what the perforate is on that ground, but I expect it ain't as good.
I don't expect it is.
So like concrete.
But you're gonna have to drill a hole there.
Yeah.
I mean, the traffic around it's created a hard pan that's even worse, so that's the first thing that's gonna have to happen, is break that hard pan
Right.
that's around that tree.
Well, the roots are top on, are close to the top on the oak. But what it's doing is it's sucking the water, it acts just like a sponge. It draws in and then expands. When it expands, you've got more root system, and it does the same thing the hydraulics does. And it actually works just about like hydraulics under
Water
dirt.
down there, the roots aren't transgressing further, they're gonna come where the water's
That's what I'm saying, if you
Okay.
run the water down there,
That's right.
That's
the
where,
roots are gonna go to the water.
but they're there already.
Yeah.
The roots are there already, they've gone that deep looking for water, so you're just gonna put it where
Well,
they're
we've
at.
had 2 bad years of
And
wind.
we've had super bad
And
dry
that
years.
contributes to it, but, you know, all the houses in Monticello are that way too.
Yeah, but we do have 2 cracks in the limestone on the north end, and I don't know that they're not contributing to the holly bush that's on the north. It's got a huge
Well, just
root
prepare
system.
them and let's try this.
I mean,
That's right.
yeah, I mean, I don't
It
want,
doesn't matter.
don't get me wrong, Chris, I don't want to cut the tree. But I do not want it to tear up this courthouse, because it costs, I have it right here, what is it? It's $111,000 is what it costs to repair the terrace the first time. And he said you probably can double that money now from 6 years
But
ago.
he got a grant.
You got a grant.
That's right.
He said,
You got a
what,
second grant.
he said, what would the availability of a grant for the same thing be, you know, if you need it again? And he says, I don't know.
That's right.
I mean, he don't know if he can, so it may be that we have to come out of our pocket.
Well, we
Now,
need to apply for that grant, that's what we need to do.
here's the deal. The tree on that stand down here is probably about 40 years old. The tree on this end is probably 80s. I don't know how old it is. I saw a picture at Cliff's over in the book, and it was in the 30s, 40s, that tree wasn't there.
Well, David Taylor's out here, he can give
That-
y'all that information.
Yeah, I mean, I could,
Let me address the court just briefly if I could. I thought maybe we might have a problem here about the tree, but y'all ain't got enough money to cut that tree. I don't think. If you're listening to the discussion here tonight, I don't think the tree's dangerous.
There you go,
I would like to have a two-pronged attack here, if I could, just a minute, listening to y'all discussion. I want to touch base on this letter from this group, but I want to talk about that tree just a minute. That tree, I want to talk about this forked leaf white oak tree on the southeast corner of the courthouse. That tree's priceless. It's irreplaceable. The forked leaf white oak is the finest of all the oaks, really. It's a long-lived tree. The generations of Drew County's not yet born. It'll sit in the shade of that tree if you leave it alone. It'll live 200 years, barring any catastrophe. When I came to the courthouse in 1963, Robert was talking about the age of that tree. That tree was about 12 or 15 inches DBH in diameter. I don't know exactly when it was planted. That was 50 years ago. And probably at that time, that tree was in the neighborhood of 18 to 25 years of age, give or take. So that tree somewhere around 70 or 75 years of age now at this time. The tree on the northeast corner and the one at the back were planted in the 70s. I think those are Shumard oak. It's a form of red oak. But I just can't help them but just appeal to everyone here the value of that tree there. It's just totally irreplaceable. I question this report. For those of you that have lived in the Drew County area and the Monticello area in particular, Mr. Appleberry, he's over in the Delta and he doesn't have this problem, but we've got a clay-based soil type here in Monticello. And for those of you that have built a house or moved into houses where the sheetrock's cracked, the foundation's cracked, brickwork's cracked, it's caused by the clay. There's not a tree in 100 yards or a quarter of a mile of some of these buildings that are just almost not livable because of the way the soil, the clay expands. It constricts and expands. Wet weather it expands, and in dry weather it constricts. I have never heard of the amount of water that a tree takes up affecting the area around it. Root trophism, the power of the root is what normally bothers foundations, particularly slabs, sidewalks. I know every one of you has seen sidewalks kicked up, slabs cracked from the trophism of tree roots. This tree out here is, I didn't measure it, but it's several feet farther out from the courthouse than the other two. But I would hope that this court would give a lot of consideration to removing those trees, for particularly this tree. Of course,
Not removing,
not removing it. That's correct. I respect this individual's comments, but I think he missed the point. I don't think that the tree. I'll bet you that if you could measure the shrinkage around the courthouse in the dry weather with no trees and with trees, you would see that it would that the shrinkage is going to be the same whether the trees are there or not. I'm going to add this. Dr. A.S.J. Collins had a big 2-story brick bat house right down here in the corner. Clifford Gibson owned the lot at one time. I don't know whether he still owned it or not. His house was built about the turn of the century. And it began to crack, the foundation cracked, the walls cracking. They tried to blame it on the railroad. And
I didn't handle that case.
but it was a clay.
That's right.
It was a clay. It wasn't a railroad. It was this clay foundation that we have. It's given contractors mortal hell ever since they've been building here.
That's right.
They absolutely have. But on behalf of this white oak tree here, I would have really appealed to you to think long and hard before you cut it. It's irreplaceable.
I think if it's, I mean, ultimately, the trees are my decision. And I think I will try the watering way before I cut the tree.
Please do.
And I mean, both of them actually, because I think if you put water, like in the perforated pipe, like you're speaking, I think that you're absolutely right, and I think that the engineer actually addressed that.
Many individual landowners, homeowners have these drip hoses down the foundation around their homes, and when the weather gets dry, they cut those drip hoses on.
Right.
And that'll.
And I don't want, like I said, I don't want to cut your trees, I just don't want to tear up the courthouse that's
So
been
you're
here.
saying that we don't have to say anything?
No, you don't, not really. I mean, ultimately, it's my, ultimately, it comes down to me, yay or nay, and y'all
Well,
are
I think
kinda-
we've got more problems.
I mean,
with
but what I'm
trees,
saying is, I want y'all's opinion,
We
because
don't
that,
want you to cut the tree.
We don't want you to.
I don't want to cut your tree. And now that we've gotten this out, and I've done more research, I've got more options to work with.
But it's good to get opinions from everybody.
Oh, absolutely,
We all
absolutely.
have to work together.
We've got a forestry school out here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know how deep I got to drill. I mean, all I know is one y'all to drill a hole.
In our
Much
kids.
work-
Oh.
it's much work to do.
I say we need to save the trees.
I would too.
Say,
We have
Trees.
resources that
Trees.
can do that, I'm sure.
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Appleberry?
Yes, sir.
I can hear what you.
NRCS can help with that. They'll be able to give the perk rate. They'll also be able to tell you how deep the table is. All those things are gonna be important. NRCS, Mr. David, NRCS will be able to help you with that. And
Yes,
they'll be
sir.
able to get a perk rate. John McAlpine, sitting back there as the chairman of the board.
Right.
He can get you directed that right way.
And that's the direction I want to go. I mean, I didn't.
Listening to this conversation here tonight,
I did want to cut
is there anyone in here that wants the trees cut? Everybody seems to be opposed to cutting the trees, period.
Yeah, and I think so. I mean,
Well, I feel better than about it.
Thank you for coming.
We're probably gonna need to trim the north tree, because the north trees start to get somewhat against the courthouse itself, and limestone is so soft.
Well, don't trim it much.
Yeah, well, I mean, they'll trim it up and.
I'm gonna sit down.
Fingers is running into the courthouse. But, and it probably next year before they do that. It's not the time of year to be trimming trees. So,
But they're alive, they're all living.
anyway, I got another thing on here, and we're gonna take care of the trees, and thank you, David, I knew you were I'm partial to the white oak. If I cut that one, I was gonna plant another white oak down